Prayer is a powerful thing, but all too often gripped by a pious spirit and poor civics education. We get very lazy. You've heard these prayers in churches and civic gatherings. They sound like they were inspired by the language of European serfs from the Middle Ages. The prayers come across like peasants hoping God will turn the favor of some distant king toward our well-being. That's fine and good for serfs in the Middle Ages, but that's not how it's supposed to be now in this republic. I'm Michael Quinn Sullivan with a reflection on life and liberty. Sadly, the prayers of many Christians reflect a disastrous understanding of our government and of our responsibilities as citizens. In too many of our churches and gatherings, we're not praying for all the right people. Let me explain, because I hear this all too often. A well-meaning person begins by calling forth the blessings and wisdoms of heaven on our rulers, praying for divine guidance to be bestowed on those in authority over us. They beseech the Almighty to give wisdom to those who bear the sword of government. Once they've built up this head of New Testament steam language, they boldly step forth in naming the names of the president, the governor, the mayor, and so on. Let me put it a little differently. These prayers aren't for the people who need it most. I must confess that I sometimes worry that there are people of faith who would rather be living under a distant monarch than rulers in this republic. Now, don't get me wrong. We should absolutely pray for the president. We should pray for the governor. We should pray for the Congress and the legislature, the courts, our city council and school board. We should pray for those bodies collectively and the officials individually. Yet, if we're going to be praying for our leaders and we limit ourselves to the holders of those positions, then we're missing out on the people who need our prayers most. Our system of government does not recognize the president, governor, Congress, or mayor as the leadership of our country and culture. Those individuals are servants. They reflect the leadership and echo the culture. The actual constitutional leaders in our self-governing republic are our fellow citizens. This makes us unique in the world. The language of our republic makes this clear. The people with the titles whose names appear on the ballot are our servants. They are given discrete power to do clearly defined things for a narrow period of time. Who is the royal and ruling sovereign? Who is the ruling master in our system? Well, that would be you, me, and our neighbors. Presidents and governors and mayors and all the rest are reflections of our collective morality, or maybe put differently, the immorality that we tolerate. For Christians, we must read Romans 13 not as the serfs living under a feudal lord, but as the ruler who is tasked with exercising leadership in our republic. Yes, we give those office holders discrete powers for specific periods of time, but the responsibility for our republic rests with the citizens. It might be easier to pray for the president and the mayor, but if we want the leadership in our nation to be imbued with divine wisdom, we should be praying for our neighbors. It might be easier to rhetorically offload our responsibilities as citizens to the hired help, but I am certain the author of Liberty is not quite so intellectually lazy. After all, the Founding Fathers used God's model for government in setting up our republic. They explicitly sought His guidance in framing a government in which we, the people, would rule under His kingship. We must not squander this precious opportunity or heady responsibility. Let us resolve to be more bold in our prayers and in praying for an awakening among those who have truly been called and designated to lead our republic. Let us pray for that most sought-after title in the world. Let us pray for the citizens of these United States. If you like the Reflections Podcast, be sure to subscribe, rate it, leave a review, and encourage your friends to listen. The Reflections Podcast is presented by Texas Scorecard and was produced today by Luke Marshall in the 1836 studios. I'm Michael Quinn Sullivan. Thanks for listening.